everybody. Welcome to Back to Current Cinema, episode 4. I can't believe we're still at it, man. Oh my gosh. I haven't sent a cancelable offense yet. Don't worry, there's still time. My name's Jeff. I'm joined by Kyle like pretty much every week so far.
Hi.
And we are gonna, hey man, we're gonna talk about some, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna talk about some movies. That's what we're gonna do.
Gosh.
That's what this whole thing is for.
What a twist.
I know. I know that people are tuning in expecting our hot takes on the latest tennis match. I don't know what's going on.
They're going to be mad about that next week.
Yeah.
This is ahead of its time. This joke's ahead of its time.
It's very ahead of its time. Watch some latest tennis scandal break out right when we hang up.
It'd be the best feeling in the world to me.
Yeah.
We broke it here first, folks.
That sport that you and I care deeply about.
I definitely know all the rules. Don't quiz me.
Yeah, that's you hit the ball and then the other person hits it back and
you get a par, right?
You got to stay in the field goal range.
I know deuce has something to do with it for sure.
Yeah, so I think you have to take a shit each time you get.
All right.
Each time you hit it over, you drop a deuce when you hit it over and they can't respond in the first time. Okay,
of course. Yeah.
Obviously, that's tradition. Don't quote me on that though.
What they do in Quimbleton or whatever it's called.
Is that the sport from Harry Potter?
Quimbleton? I thought that was the place that they played tennis. I don't know.
Oh. I think it's Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, whatever.
Wimbledon. I remember.
Come here, folks, for all your tennis news.
I remember. I did not expect us to make so many tennis jokes, but I remember a Conan O'Brien episode long ago from like late night days. You know, like so from the 2000s, maybe late 90s, where he had the whole bit was. I think it was John Glazer kept saying Wimbledon wrong, and he kept saying Wimbledon, and every time Conan corrected him, he just couldn't help it. He would just every single time. He just Wimbledon. It got to a point where he just kept saying it slowly and more tragically and sadly. It's like Wimbledon. It's so stupid. That's why. Speaking of dumb comedy, we're definitely going through our pick 5 topic for this week. Pick 5 is so how we define stupid or dumb comedies. We'll explain that as we go through our lists and stuff because it's going to be different for both of us. Probably not though, because you and I have the same really stupid, dumb, idiotic humor.
Right.
We like pee poop. We were just making jokes about poop potatoes.
Yeah.
About I think Matt Damon on in The Martian makes potatoes out of poop on Mars, and we were complaining about our internet being stupid, and we were like, how in the world?
I promise.
Are we ever going to be able to make poop potatoes on Mars if we can't stabilize our internet freaking connection? It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. Right.
Anyway, so starting things off, though, this is just going to be basic-ass episode, meaning I'm not going to be like, hey, I saw Sundance movies. There's none of that to start out. We're going to go, instead we did tennis talk.
Yeah, you got that.
We'll make that a regular segment.
God, I hope not. That was it. That was all my material I had on that.
We're just gonna go right into what did you watch. We're gonna start with new. Again, I use quotations for new. These movies came out in the last couple months, and I'll just go ahead and start this time. I saw the movie. I'm not gonna have a lot to say. I saw this movie, Living. It's the screenshot behind me. You got the girl from Sex Education, Amy Lou Wood, I think, and then you got Bill Nighy. He's the star of the movie. My understanding is this is like it is a very British movie, but it is an adaptation or a remake of an Akira Kurosawa movie called Ikiru, which I'd never seen. I think it's a drama of some kind. But it's about Bill Nighy plays this character. I can't remember his name. I can't remember any of the characters' names, honestly. They're all British names. Hello, chop, chum, chili, chili, chum, chum, chum. It takes place in like the 20s. Maybe I have that wrong. 50s. I think 50s is more like it. But Bill Nighy plays this guy that's like in the 50s in British, and at least the takeaway that I got from this movie, in the 50s in London, in the British whatever culture, people were just kind of keeping to themselves and kind of just not really making like the crass jokes that we see now and stuff like that. There were certainly no Boris Johnsons running around as prime minister. But don't get me wrong, I'm sure there were some circus elements like there are across all countries. But everybody was kind of, at least this is how the movie portrays it, everybody was kind of reserved back then. So you just kind of kept your nose down and did your work. And everybody's addressed by Mr. or Mrs. or Miss or whatever. Everybody's very proper. And so Bill Nighy's character starts out as like this intimidating character, and then he gets a prognosis that he has like 6 months to live, at best 8 months. So it's that type of story. Like it's not like you haven't seen it before. You've seen this. Oh, I don't have that much longer to live. I'm going to live it up now. But I think the dilemma with this one was, how do you live it up, quote unquote, in the 50s when you're supposed to be keeping to yourself and kind of, not really bothering people and stuff like that. So he didn't. It's his struggle to do that because he spent his whole life not really living at all. Just kind of with the work. So I think at least that element of it they tackle really well, and like the cinematography is really cool. I think it's got that aspect ratio that's more kind of like a box, but it's a little bigger than that. Like the whale is straight up like a square, and this one is a little bigger than a square, but it's still got those sides or whatever. Beautiful shots, great score. Bill Nighy got nominated for an Oscar for this. That's why I watched the movie.
Okay.
Because I watch all the Oscar nominations, regardless of category. I watch every single one of them. Even best makeup. It's like, what are you doing, man? No, what that movie was not nominated in any other.
That's the only reason he saw Suicide Squad. Everybody. That's actually.
That's it. I definitely didn't see it in the theater twice.
What's wrong?
I don't know.
With you?
I don't know how that happened, dude.
We can break that down later. We'll have to circle back to that.
But this movie is quite excellent. It's just it's so understated that I can see it. People just going, yeah, it's fine. Like I can see people just going,
sure.
It's an Oscar movie, whatever. It's good. But at least my takeaway and how I feel about mortality and stuff like that, which we'll talk about in another movie that I saw. I thought it tackled that stuff pretty well, especially when it's like, I don't know how to live it up, like that type of stuff. And Amy Lou Wood from Sex Education, I'm glad she got she's basically the second lead here. I'm glad she got a pretty pronounced role in a movie because I always thought she was great in Sex Education. That's the only thing I've ever seen her in.
Same, yeah.
Since then or before then, so I'm glad she got a really good role, a meaty role in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't say I recognize anybody else. There were some really, really great poignant moments at the end too, about what it leaves to leave a legacy, like what it means to, even if it's temporary and you're not going to be here for that long, and the things that you make aren't going to be here for that long. I don't know. It's just about legacy, and that's something I wrestle with a lot too. So I don't know. This movie kind of hit me at the right time, I guess.
Sure.
So I think I regard it a little bit better than a lot of critics do. They were just
sure, yeah, you have a personal resonance with it.
Yeah,
Whereas maybe some people did just show up to watch it because it's an Oscar movie and they could never get beyond that. Or
they're just old people that like old British movies starring Bill Nighy.
They exist. That demographic's out there.
I promise you. I went and saw this at the Angelica, which is an indie kind of theater that's in my area, in the Dallas area. And it was a matinee showing, and other than me, everybody else was an old couple, So
nice.
And it was pretty full. People show up for these type of movies at theaters like that. So I was boy, I'm in the wrong crowd for this one. But I think I was the one acting the most emotional at the movie compared to everybody else in the theater. Anyway, it was good. It was good for people that like these type of movies. You'll like this movie. Yeah. Anyway, what's a
that's awesome. Yeah.
What's a quote-unquote movie that you saw?
I'm gonna go the complete opposite direction.
Yes.
And my movie was Violent Nights, which is just the funnest. It's out of Christmas season. I'm sorry, I got to it late. But it is just a fun movie. It's on Paramount Plus or Peacock. I forget. It's on one of those that you can just watch right now.
I think it's on Peacock. I think it's a Universal movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just a good time, man. Everyone showed up and knew the assignment. Everyone knew what kind of movie they were making, and everyone was appropriately hammy. And I just love it, from the sister from Righteous Gemstones to.
Oh my gosh, dude, she was so funny. I laughed the hardest at her throwaway lines that I feel like she imposed. It's pretty clear that she improvised so many lines.
I don't think anyone gave her a script for this movie. Yeah, it's just do a thing that you do, which I love it. I love that thing. I love her every time she's in anything. And I also like the mom from the Vacation movies. I haven't seen her since I guess
she was great.
White Castle or something, or the second movie of Harold and Kumar.
I think for me, it was Entourage. She was Ari's foil. in a way in Entourage. Yeah,
I don't remember that. Okay,
she was
that show.
I'm trying to remember she was an agent or a head of a studio. There's no way I'm going to rewatch that show and enjoy it. So I'm just going to have to use my vague memory.
You have to just leave that one in the past, you know?
Yeah. But that's the last time I saw her. So,
I do like her a lot, though. She's always been funny. I loved her in those, vacation movies. Love her in, like, really liked her in this too. She was a very sassy old lady. And just David Harbour, just with the Santa puns, is just adding it all. And if anyone doesn't know what this movie is, it's Santa John Wick. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah. They didn't have to, but they gave a whole backstory, which I won't go into here, for why Santa is the way that he is.
It's very surprising.
It's surprising. It's ludicrous, to be frank, so and not in the way that you probably think it's going to be. So, and John Leguizamo is just a great bad guy. Oh, he's such a good Scrooge in this movie, and I just absolutely love it. And just the who's who, like everyone, like on the Merc Squad, like I was like, I could place them from somewhere at some point. I was like, oh yeah, I recognize like you, like the bearded elf guy who was like really mouthy. Like I remember seeing him in things, and everyone was familiar in some way. But man, what a fun movie! I really enjoyed it. Really good action. It's just got great action. I love this like era of like old dudes like killing people, like cinema that we're in the middle of right now with like Nobody and this and all this stuff. Like I like this John Wick, you know.
And it's basically Liam Neeson started that genre.
Yeah, thanks, Taken
for us in the late 2000s, and then now he's like. Now that's like the descriptor that we use for like the Bob Odenkirk movie or like the or David Harbour doing it is like, oh, they're doing the Liam Neeson thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Liam Neeson is still doing that. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, Clint Eastwood was doing that a long time ago. You know what I mean? True. He was an old man, like, just being a man and doing man. Like, it's just an evolution of like the male fantasy of just being a badass, a power fantasy, if you will. And like, you're not gonna get much more out of this movie other than some like really corny laughs, some great action, some mega gore, and it's just a good time, man. Like, there's not much to say about it, other than
it's like, I'm not saying, I mean, there is a Christmas heart to it. Like, they do find a way to make it cliche and circle it back to the theme of Christmas and stuff. And this Christmas spirit and whatnot. So, like, in the same vein that Elf does it, where it's like, I'm not really feeling the emotional resonance because it's just such a silly movie. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just there for the ride. And boy, is that movie a ride. I had so much. I was giddy from the opening scene where he throws up on that bartender. I was like so giddy.
She's like so excited. She sees Santa and like gets puked all over. It's so great.
Vomited all. It's comical amounts of vomit.
I like the reoccurring joke of just like, it's Christmas magic. Yeah, I don't get it either. Like it's just Santa saying that. Like just fantastical weird stuff is happening. It's just like Christmas magic. Like it's just
wasn't there a part where like the mercenaries were like one of them kept taking crap out of his bag and they're like, how the hell?
How does this work? He goes, Christmas magic. I don't get it either. And he says that every time. He's like, I still don't get it.
He's been doing it for like centuries, and he's like,
he doesn't question it. It just is.
I can't wait for a second one, and I hope they put Mrs. Claus in there and make her do some badass stuff too in the second one.
That's amazing. So that writes itself. Absolutely.
Yeah,
you gotta have Mrs. Claus in there. I want to see some elves getting the action. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and if they want to do like another Die Hard or Home Alone scenario where it's like people are trapped somewhere and he is too, and so he has to help.
I was thinking a North Pole like I was thinking like a North Pole siege, like where someone was mad that like someone killed all these people, so like in retribution they come to bring the war to Santa's
That could be
doorstep.
Fun. There's a death
ridiculous.
near the end of the film that is so comically violent. I laughed so hard when it happened.
It's out of control if we're talking about
a
chimney.
Yeah.
So it's totally amazing. Yeah.
So absurd. Who thinks that out and goes like, I know how to make this look good.
Like, I wonder if that came first and the movie was like reverse engineered around it.
Could have been. Imagine what it would be like if Santa did this.
Exactly.
I could totally see that. And I love the Home Alone, like, what if Home Alone was R-rated segment, which there is a sequence where it's like somebody's springing traps. And the little girl in the movie references Home Alone quite a bit. So, it's
brought up a lot,
Yeah. The movie's very aware of its influences. So the girl is like setting up traps in the basement because there's a couple of mercenaries on her tail. And instead of doing it the Home Alone way, where it's like a cartoon and nothing is really hurting the bad guys, they just go, oh, ow. even though in reality it would kill them. The movie Violent Night is like, no, how about we like kill them for real? Like, and we see how these
it's
traps
pretty easy
really
to kill
hurt.
them with these household objects.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
exactly.
I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. You know, it was a hard recommend, easy watch, even out of season, or save it for next season. I don't care. You know,
there
just
was one person that I know
one.
personally. I barely personally, and just online we know each other in passing. We just have a lot of mutual friends and stuff. But he was like the only person on the planet, pretty much to me, that was like, I don't get it. Like I didn't have fun. I thought it was.
What's there to get?
I don't.
And, what do you? Yeah, it's not.
And he thought it was dumb in like a bad way, but I'm like, I think you just missed that it was purposefully trying to be dumb, and you didn't align with the tone.
Yeah,
it could have been that.
Yeah, and yeah, puns turn some people off, I guess. And the whole movie is puns. It's puns the movie. It's Christmas puns the movie.
Yeah, it is. It's
great.
Very funny. Yeah.
I wonder if they blew their load. All the jokes are. You know what I mean? Like when I was thinking about doing a second one, I'm like, how many more Christmas jokes can you pull out of
I know.
Christmas? You know, they'll figure it out, but
they'll find a way to make somebody call women hoes or something, I'm sure, because they didn't do that in the first movie. Surprisingly,
they didn't. You're right.
Probably because we're kind of over that expression as a society. It's not who still says that. Just besides working pimps, who says that?
Right.
Anyway, let's just do it round robin. What's an old movie that you watched?
My old movie in celebration.
I guess it's Snake Draft. Sorry. Yes, okay. But yeah, what's your
in celebration of our topic, I watched Talladega Nights.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Just dumb. One of my more favorite Will Ferrell movies. But just big dumb fun. Stupid. All the shake and bake stuff. Anytime his dad's on screen. All that good stuff. I think it's super hilarious. And all these years later, I still find it like stupid funny. So easy watch. You know, everyone's seen this movie's like 20 years old, and everyone in the world's seen it. We don't have to dwell on it, but like that's what I ended up watching today. Because I was like, I had stupid comedies on the brain. So
yeah, exactly. I did too.
I was like, I got to get that out somewhere.
Yeah, I rewatched one of my choices that's going to come up later because when I wrote it down as one of my picks, I was like, wait a minute, I hadn't seen that in like a few years, like maybe 10 years or so I had to watch it. It didn't age
I left
well
this off my list because, it was I thought about it, but there's too many movies I thought about, so it didn't make the list. So it at least was one I was watching, and I don't have to be redundant about talking about a movie again later. Like we were talking Talladega Nights again, guys.
Right. Yeah, that's a really funny movie, dude. And
fun time.
And Sacha Baron Cohen is just on another level in it. Like I remember that being, for me at least, the first time outside of Borat that I saw, because I didn't see Talladega Nights when it came out. I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Probably after Borat sometime. So like when I went back and watched Talladega Nights, I was like, oh, Sacha Baron Cohen's an actor? Like it just didn't connect. I thought he was just a guy that did spoof stuff or whatever, you know, like, or whatever you call it, prank stuff, like Jackass kind of in a way. And he was very funny in this and game for anything, clearly.
Yeah,
and sure. I just love that whole, like, he's like threatening to break Ricky's arm, and the whole time they're talking about crepes.
Yeah,
like,
just say you like really small pancakes, and he's like, no, because you'll know I'm talking about crepes. No
matter how this goes down, can we just like go get some after this?
Yeah. I had some crepe. I had a whole mess of crepes this morning, and they're pretty good.
I love when Ricky Bobby has that coma thing, and then Michael Clark Duncan, R.I.P.
That's
is so good in that scene.
That's my favorite part of the whole movie.
And then, like, I love that sequence and stuff. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby? Yeah, and then, like, then when you get stabbed in the leg,
it's the
with
knife
fork.
scene that
the knife, yeah.
Yeah.
But then right after that, when he goes back to his house, and suddenly Cal is with his wife.
Oh yeah, I was gone 3 hours. Yeah.
Wait a minute. What? Yeah. And then Cal calls him later, asking instructions for how to use the TV, and he's like, wait, I just remembered that I hate you.
Yeah. You're wrecking my life. Yeah, that's good stuff. I come from a family of Hicks, you know. I come from a family of Hicks that watch NASCAR, so like it's like there's extra funny stuff to me, you know. Yeah. All the Dear Sweet Baby Jesus, you know, Bless Mountain Dew, all that, like just super over the top redneck stuff.
I love the absentee father trying so hard to be a bad dad. Like he is going above and beyond to be an awful parent. It is so funny. like the selling his tickets and stuff. Like
he
so
finally shows up
ridiculous.
at the end and
Yeah.
talks the tickets. Yeah,
He can't help but ruin it, and
Yeah.
that's evident in that. Was it Bennigan's or Applebee's scene?
Applebee's, yeah.
Applebee's, yeah. Bennigan's, R.I.P. Bennigan's. I'm saying
They're
that.
like, well, we got to go out someplace real nice. I'm talking something real special, and it's
Real
like cut
special,
to
it's
Applebee's.
And he notices that it's a pleasant moment, so he has to sabotage it. I love that part of the character because it's just so forced in a way that it's funny. It's so forced. Yeah, that's a great movie. The one that I watched is from, man, this movie's hella old. It's from the year 2021. It's so old, dude.
Jeez.
Man, it's like when we were kids when this came out. So this is actually my favorite movie of that year. And I don't remember if I know we talked about Violent Night on the Current Gen podcast. But I don't know if I talked about this on the Current Gen podcast. It's Tick, Tick, Boom. That was definitely my number one movie of that year.
Okay, nice.
It is a musical, so that's easy to kind of turn people off to watching it, I guess, depending on who you are. For me, I'm more picky about musicals. Like if the music's good and it flows well in the story, then I'm on board. But and to me, this one did in particular. But yeah, this is Andrew Garfield stars in this. Lin-Manuel Miranda directs it. And it's based on a musical is an adaptation of the musical written by the guy who wrote Rent. Which Rent, by the way, that's an example of a musical that makes me go, no, I don't like musicals.
Okay, all right.
You know?
I like to know your parameter, yeah.
Whereas this one is a more personal story for that writer, and the songs are just more interesting and more catchy. So on that level, I was able to appreciate it more, especially because it's a more personal story for the guy that wrote it, because he. The whole reason that this movie resonated for me was I was feeling things that I didn't at the time that I saw it, and I still feel this. I still wrestle with it. I was feeling things at the time the movie came out about my life that I didn't know how to put into words, like at all. And then the movie just showed it to me. You know what I mean? It was like it just showed all of it to me, and I was like, oh my God, this is like. And so I was a wreck the first time I saw it. I had to watch it like half the movie through tears because I couldn't. I was like coming to terms with so many different types of emotions, and I'm sorry if that's not alpha or whatever, but
it's not, but it's okay.
It's okay.
No, that's good.
But the story is Andrew Garfield plays this guy Jonathan. I can't remember his last name, but he wrote Rent. That's all you need to know. But this is about his life before that. So he's a struggling Broadway musical writer. In that he can't get funding or anything to save his life. Like he's getting turned down by everything. But he's pretty much blinded by his ambition. Like he is so ambitious that it makes him unlikable to his friends at certain points in the movie, and his girlfriend. He's also obsessed with the idea of legacy, which I touched on already with like Living. Where he's constantly comparing himself to people that have already done it and been successful. Like Stephen Sondheim came out with West Side Story in his 20s, you know? So he's looking at that as a barometer for like his own success. And so that's what causes him to, you know, kind of go in a spiral on, I'm not doing enough and stuff like that. So these are all things that I still feel and struggle with sometimes, but I was feeling it hard, especially because this movie's about this guy turning 30 and looking back at his life and going, what did I do? Like, what did I do? I moved to New York and just stayed in debt and worked at a diner. That's all I did. That's all I have to show for. So a lot of that just really, really struck me as somebody who is a musician. So, I mean, there is that element that I relate to as well. But Andrew Garfield puts in like a performance of a lifetime. And I don't say that lightly because he is a great actor. Like he has had role after role of great freaking performances, and this is definitely his best. Wow, yeah, high praise. And he went into it not having been a singer at all, but apparently he worked with Lin-Manuel so much that when he did finally get the singing right, it was like this huge celebration for them. Like Lin-Manuel was just over the moon and stuff like that, and his voice sounds so good in the movie. For the type of music it is. If he was trying to do a musical career, it would never pan out. But for the type of music it is, it's pitch perfect. Like there's a scene in the movie. I'll just talk about my favorite scenes in the movie. There's a scene in the movie where he and his girlfriend finally have their fight because she's got this typical girlfriend thing that you see in a lot of stories where she gets a scholarship to some dance studio somewhere, but that means she has to move. And they've been avoiding this conversation the whole time. Because Andrew Garfield's character is just swamped and he's just like he's just dedicated to writing a final song in his quote unquote magnum opus, which doesn't end up taking off. But they're arguing, and as they're arguing, it cuts to a performance of the musical Tick, Tick, Boom. Like I said, this is an adaptation of it, but it's spliced in between actual movie scenes and stuff like that. It cuts to a performance of Andrew Garfield and Vanessa Hudgens, who plays like one of his, what do you call it, chorus, one of the members of the chorus in the musical. They're singing a song together where it's like they're arguing, and it's like this really old school like country bluegrass song, and it's really playful and really funny. So it'll like cut to them having like a really fun verse where the lyrics are something like, I feel bad about you feeling bad about me feeling bad about you. Like it's a silly ass song. So it cuts to like a really serious argument where they're like breaking up, and it cuts back to the song, and then it cuts back to them arguing. And it's like, it's such a great scene. I could just send that to you by itself, and that I feel like that could sell the movie. Yeah, it's on Netflix, by the way. This has been a Netflix movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was a Netflix movie. Yeah, if I remember.
Yeah, this was my most one of my most anticipated for that year, just because I knew Lin-Manuel Miranda was directing it, and I knew Andrew Garfield was in it. So I was like, cool.
That was enough. Yeah,
I'm hyped. And then I saw the movie, and I was like, crap, I'm wrecked. So it's nothing that year was able to top it. I mean, things came close, but like I think Sound of Metal was that year. No, that might have been the year before. But anyway, that was a really great movie. Highly recommend it to. I mean, yes, if you're a musical fan, you're going to love the movie automatically. That's just my opinion, because it is about making a musical. So I mean, I think musical nerds love that aspect. But if you're more picky like me, you're definitely gonna love it. Like, I mean, I made you watch La La Land pretty much. I wouldn't stop talking about it. And I know you're like me. You're kind of picky about musicals and stuff. So I feel like this would resonate with you for sure.
Okay, cool.
Especially seeing the performances.
I like Andrew Garfield.
He's so
I like him.
Dude. When he didn't get nominated for Best Actor, it was like, well,
is he my favorite Spider-Man? Nah, but I like the guy. I like the guy.
Yeah. I like what he brought to No Way Home. I mean, spoilers on that cameo, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Yeah. Oops. No, he's great in that.
Yeah.
He's actually my favorite of the three there.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. I was like, man, he brought so much to the table on that one.
Yeah.
Whereas An Amazing Spider-Man was fine. Like, I thought he was the high point of that movie for sure, but the story was very redundant. And then in the second one, it was just kind of like, I didn't care about anything that was going on in that movie. It's not nearly as bad as people say it is, but it is not good. So No Way Home felt like a little bit of redemption. I mean, you could say the same for Tobey. Because Spider-Man 3 was just so freaking atrocious. Yeah.
It's a mess. Yeah.
But so both of them were able to bring something out fresh to their versions of Peter Parker that like, oh, this is redemption, man. These guys are really special. And apparently Garfield improvised a lot of those lines where he's just
doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I love you guys. You know, like that type of stuff.
Sure.
He made it up and they just filmed it and put it in the movie. Anyway, he's one of the best actors of our time, really, of our generation. That does it for What Did We Watch? And now we get to go dive into some really, really stupid stuff. We're going to talk about pick five.
Pick five.
Just get higher and higher.
Theme music goes off.
Pick five. Pick five. Whatever.
There it is. Wow.
So,
what a jingle.
Yeah. Dumb comedies. I mean, for me, it's just like it's just comedies that have jokes in them that you go, what?
Yeah.
That's stupid. What? No, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like that's the type of comedy that I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking of like think more Airplane and less. I'm trying to think of like distinguished comedies, you know, like, oh, that's an elevated comedy. Like
I was looking. I do a little research. I read other people's lists whenever I'm making these lists. So I'll do Same. Best dumb comedy. Throw it into Google. Yeah, let's let it rip or whatever.
Same.
Every list had like Superbad on there. And I'm like, no, that movie's about something. Like there is a through line.
Same.
It's a coming of age comedy. Like that would not be.
It's similar
on this type of
to
list.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
Like, no. It's a very funny movie, but it is about somebody going through something.
Yeah. There is something to take away from that movie. Right. I'm not saying like it's going to change your life, but like you could take something away and be like, oh yeah, he ended up being a good guy after all, or whatever.
or whatever. Yeah.
The movies I picked, there is no message to extrapolate from this at all, other than like maybe some laughs. You know, if this is your type of humor. You know.
I fully agree with that, but I did set limitations on myself at least. I removed the most obvious ones. I removed, at least I feel the most. So Dumb and Dumber's in our theme, and I didn't that one.
I didn't add that either. It's up there for me though.
It's
like number one. It would maybe
probably
even.
be I mean, it's literally called Dumb and Dumber as well.
Yeah.
So the lowest hanging fruit.
And there is a through line plot in that movie, but it's about nothing. You don't take anything out of it.
Right.
You know, like you don't leave and go, oh well, those two guys, they really did whatever.
Right.
No,
yeah.
Nothing.
I think there was a movie we talked about last week, or no, it was on Current Gen. I know what it was. On Current Gen, I talked about my recent rewatch of Airplane. So I didn't pick that one either because I was like, well, I just talked about it. So
okay. Yeah.
No slight if anybody picked that. Obviously, if you picked it, it's fine. Because it does deserve to be named in this category. Yeah. And we're not using dumb as like a pejorative, like a negative thing either.
I figured either you would pick that or it would get brought up, so I didn't put it on my list because that's that's like the king of dumb movies.
Yeah, if anything, so that's like the starter.
I kind of had a not an obvious choice, thing as well going or self rule.
Hit me with one of yours.
So my first one, and I don't know if you've seen this movie. I think I've pitched it to you before, but it's by Bobcat Goldthwait, and it's called Windy City Heat. And it's basically a movie where a bunch of people, it's a movie, it's a real prank caught on film, all right?
Okay.
About and I think Jimmy Kimmel wrote it or something like that, or something. I know he was involved, but they pretty much get this guy to believe he's the next big up and coming star, and they chronicleize 6 months of this guy's quote unquote career, and it's about nothing other than making this guy look stupid. And he's outrageous. He's dumb. It'd be like making Trump president. Oh, okay, that did happen. So
what?
But this did too. So it's just imagine the biggest idiot in the entire world thinking that he's the biggest star in the entire world. And he's ugly. He's not fit. He's no Tom Cruise or anything like that. But he's gonna be the star of this new mafia movie called Windy City Heat. And it is absolutely stupid. The things they get this guy to believe that is actually happening is absolutely insane. And I wanted to represent kind of a genre of done movies like Borat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this was my Borat pick, if you will, where it's a real life, you're a candid camera type of situation. Right. That you're, or Bad Grandpa or Jackass or any of that stuff, that's maybe not all that stuff is dumb comedy, but it's dumb and it's live and it's there's a real kind of prank at the center of it. And and this movie's great. And man, if you've never seen this movie or that doesn't sound familiar like I pitched you have to watch this movie. And especially if you like Bobcat Goldthwait, because I know you've seen God Bless America and and in other movies he's probably done. He's funny, man, and this movie is absolutely hilarious. And the links.
God Bless America is that messed up one about it's basically like Natural Born Killers a little bit, but
a little bit,
yeah, but it's a little darker in humor and
I'm pretty sure he did World's Greatest Dad too with Robin Williams.
Oh yeah, I don't remember if I saw that.
Up. Oh, dude, you have to watch that movie. It's so great. But yeah, he's just a fucked up comedy guy. He's I just want to make everyone really uncomfortable.
The plot you describe reminds me of a show that came out on Peacock this year called I mentioned it to you before. It's called Paul T. Goldman. Okay, and it's literally about this really, really, really dorky Jewish writer. And I mentioned the Jewish part because it's part of his personality. He's almost like the stereotype that people make fun of, and it's really unfortunate, but it lends itself to his dorkiness in a way.
Sure. Okay.
But he has this really incredible story about his ex-wife being a prostitute or something like that, and it's this really intricate plot. And it's a docuseries about the filmmaker making a show out of it. Mm-hmm. But it really is ultimately about the guy Paul. Paul T. Goldman is his writer name. I think his real name is something else. His last name is something else. But it is about him, and ultimately, and he's the star. He is just such a dork, giggly, and no charisma. Just such a weird guy in the vein of Nathan Fielder shows, basically.
That's what I was gonna say myself. Is that this is a good this was the testing ground for that type of weird humor, Windy City Heat, that is. It kind of has vibes of early beta 1990s Nathan Fielder, through that
I gotta watch it
of
then,
the 90s, because everybody's in on the joke except the guy who they're putting the joke on, and throwing gigantic screeners and alive events for the movie, and it's just It's and like I can only imagine that this guy like went off and killed himself or something like that after this, because like I couldn't even imagine how embarrassing it would feel to. It's like that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they like trick Dee into thinking she's like a really big stand-up comedian.
Yeah. By the way, that just popped up in my. I was scrolling through TikTok the other day, and they showed the clip of, I think it was Charlie Day went on Conan, and they were like, "Hey Conan, can you just say a line for me really quick into the," and they caught this on camera in front of the audience. And he was like, "You're really just going to have me say a line and then use it in your show?" And they were like, "Yeah." And so he said the line, and then they cut to that episode of her being introduced with Conan's voice. And it's the same. It is genuinely the audio from that show.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, D whatever."
Yeah.
And then she comes out, and it's like a prank, and she's like, "What the hell?" Like, yeah.
It's too good. Yeah. I it's really mean-spirited, so like I could see some people like watching it being like, that just was awkward and weird and stuff like that, but like it's very funny to me.
And that's the thing that puts me off nowadays to some Jackass movies, where I'm like, don't be mean to your friends that have phobias. Like, I don't understand. Whereas some of the other stuff,
no wonder you are all doing drugs for so long. You're scaring the shit out of each other, you know?
Like if I were in that group of friends and I said, "Dude, I'm deathly afraid of being stabbed to death," they would just be like, "Well, I guess we gotta fake stab him." Like,
or get a knife that's not deep enough to actually hurt you, and they just stab, like for real stab you.
Tiny stab. Horrible bosses. Tiny stab. The guy has like I think he has a peanut allergy or something, and he's like, "Oh, it didn't work. Maybe I got to do tiny stabs with like." So funny. So my pick is the movie that I rewatched. My first pick is the movie that I rewatched for this list because I hadn't seen it in like 10 years, and that's Not Another Teen Movie.
I just watched that like maybe 6 months ago or so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We watch dumb movies at work as an exercise. So.
Oh, good. I mean, this one deserves to be up there with as one of the dumbest movies ever. It's just
good spoof movie, super dumb movie.
Oh yeah, big time. I came away liking it less this time, but I still really, really like it, and I still rated it positively.
It's one of the ones that me and my friends would quote to each other all the time. So like, when I watched it, I wasn't like, "Oh, this really held up." A lot of memories come attached, with it. So I was still having a pretty good time watching it, but like, I'm very aware that like that type of humor is not even a thing anymore. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And like I'm okay with it being dead too. Like it's not one where I'm like, hey, let's bring back, something like old and feels good.
Yeah.
This is just kind of awkward.
Yeah, the scary movies kind of ruined that for everything. Like because they kept doing scary, and then they did side movies like epic movie and like superhero movie and stuff. They were
chasing that airplane, dragon, and they spoofed everybody out for sure.
But I feel like they peaked at Scary Movie 2, and I mean, actually, you know what? I think 3 I laughed at a lot. Is that the one with Leslie Nielsen?
Yeah.
If it is, I laughed a lot at that one.
There are some things I did enjoy about that movie, but it's you could see it was
it was high highs and really low lows.
Yeah,
it was like, oh boy, some of these are really cringe. So I'm not that I'm cringing a lot during this movie, but there are definitely some things that I just didn't laugh at. Like younger me lost it at this stuff, but now I'm like,
I laugh at the stuff that I didn't laugh too hard at. Like I remember laughing really hard this time at like when he turns around and it's like a picture of him, and it's like picture reception of that. Like that's like because that's stupid. Like that's my kind of stupid humor. But maybe I didn't appreciate that as much as a kid. But less of the poop jokes and gross makeout jokes in this one. On this watch, I'm like, this is gross humor.
I think doing the Breakfast Club thing was a little too played out. That was like the only segment that was like, well, you could have just cut this and referenced more modern movies, because they were doing a good job with referencing She's All That and 10 Things I Hate About You, and there were some other Varsity Blues. They were doing good jobs at referencing movies of that time. So to reference Breakfast Club felt entirely out of place. Like even using the same principle and stuff, like or the teacher or whatever that from detention. So that felt a little too played out.
There was one scene in there that I still in that scene. There's one line that I still say to this day, and it's when that dorky kid turns around and he goes, "Stop!"
Yeah,
like I still do that to this day.
He says it just like Molly Ringwald in Breakfast Club, because that's literally what she does. Is she opens her mouth almost as wide as possible to Judd Nelson. It's like, stop. And he exaggerates it in
it's so exaggerated and stupid. And that's the only part I like. But I agree with everything else. I'm like, well, I don't even think I saw Breakfast Club when I saw that movie for the first time. You know what I mean? Like that's not a movie that I grew up. I've seen it now, obviously, but it's not a movie I grew up watching.
But one of the dumbest things in the movie is the fact that there's a foreign exchange student and her name is Areola and she's naked all the time. It's the dumbest joke.
Super on the nose.
Oh my god, dude. It's so dumb. I love it. Yeah. And then
I can't believe she wore the same thing as me and it's another girl naked at a party. Yes! Yeah, she's so mad, The bitch.
Sam Levine playing an Asian guy. I feel like I feel like that joke is kind of actually a little bit ahead of its time because they are making a commentary on switching races with certain actors or having like yellow face or black face or whatever. Like they're pretty much making a commentary on that. But I can see, much like Tropic Thunder, how people would be like, oh, that's just tasteless or whatever. Like they would just misunderstand.
I see that now, and it's a multi. I grew up a white weeb who came to school like all like into Asian culture and stuff like that. So like there was a little bit. I was like, it's making fun of dumb kids like me too. You know, like like the kids who come to white boys who come to school wearing those like silk dragon shirts and stuff like that. That was real, So it's like I saw, but you're right too. I mean, they were obviously making fun of like eons of actors playing like Asian roles, like when they had no business doing so. So
and I love the recurring line of she's got glasses and a ponytail.
And a ponytail. Don't forget the pink color. Don't forget the pink color overalls.
Is there paint on her overalls? Oh my god, dude! Like they're just repulsed by it. It's so ridiculous.
And she's like so incredibly hot. Like it's so stupid how beautiful this girl is. I don't recognize her from anything. I don't think I've ever seen her anything since then.
She's been in Supergirl, and that's about it. The show.
Good for her.
I think she was like the best friend of the main character. I think she was the best friend of Supergirl.
Oh, okay.
The sister or something. Yeah,
she does the role really well. A lot of comedies asked out of her, like physical comedy and stuff like that.
Her running away is funny. And I don't know if they didn't do that out of never mind. I'm thinking a Scary Movie where they had Anna Faris run away like Sydney does in the first Scream movie. Do you remember that scene in Scream where she's like, I'll see you at the party, and she runs away really weird.
But they do an exaggerated version of that. It's funny, like. Because that's the type of stuff I see in movies. So when a movie picks up on that and turns it into a joke, I'm like, we're all speaking the same comedy.
Yeah, exactly. I had so many quotes up here, and I love the hacky sack guy from Community. I love him in this too.
Oh, Van, Van. That's the first thing I've ever saw him in before he went on to do other things.
He's just such a smarmy shit, and I love the whole fake confession to I think her name's Janie. When he's like just. Whispering.
I'm pretending to whisper in your ear, but really, I'm not really saying anything. But he's gonna think I'm revealing something. Yeah, whatever it is.
Thus confirming everything I just whispered in your ear. Yeah, so stupid. And Chris Evans is he needs to do more comedy stuff because he brought so much comedy from into Knives Out that made me go, why does he do this more? And
Scott Pilgrim too. Shows up and slays that comedy role. Like. Yeah, he's born for that, making laughs, man.
Oh, for sure.
Just said he became Captain America, kind of a big whoopsie daisy for his career. You know what I mean?
I know it's a shame that didn't play out well for him.
Yeah,
I was really rooting for him. Anyway, what's another one of yours?
So next one of mine, and I don't know, maybe this is on yours, maybe it's not. Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, it's not on mine.
All right, good. I'm glad I brought it up then. This is like the dumbest movie in the entire world. It's another movie that's literally about nothing, and it fits your criteria of when you hear like a character say something, you're like, what? Infinite amount of those in this movie, and it's a real who's who of comedic actors and stuff like that. Everybody in this movie is a gigantic famous person now. Whereas Bradley maybe Cooper, at this time,
probably the biggest one.
Probably, very much so. I just really enjoy this movie, and I miss I miss some of the people that didn't stick around for so long. Your Michael Showalters and your Michael Ian Blacks and stuff like that. I wish that they they're around, but like
Showalter's doing really well in the directing game for sure.
Yes, he is.
Directing a lot of very interesting rom-coms that like have a different voice to them or something. Like they just feel different. And I the only reason I didn't include Wet Hot American Summer in mine, because I did consider it, was I thought the prequel series, and I think they did another series too after that, right?
They did, yeah.
Were so leagues dumber. Like they
yeah.
capitalized on the dumb even more. I not that I liked it more, but it was just like
I don't know. Some
definitely
guy has sex with a can of something in the prequel.
yes,
Yeah,
right.
that's kind of the level
Chris
of
Maloney.
comedy. Like John Benjamin, I think is in the series. I don't know if he's in the
Yeah.
movie, but
He voices the
yeah.
can. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. I really like it. It's been a while since I've gone back to it, but I did watch it whenever the series were coming back out. And that's another good example. If you want more of that, there's 2 seasons of just like super dumber comedy of that nature. The ongoing joke being like only a day has passed, but they're all like 40 years older.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it's a prequel. Like so
yeah, and it's a
stupid.
prequel, so they're supposed to be younger, and it's just there's no explanation for it at all, and they just lean into it. It's super funny. I just really like that movie. It's a good time.
Me too. And since you're on the topic of a David Wayne movie, I did pick a David Wayne movie.
Thank you. Yeah.
He's the director of Wet Hot American Summer. He also did he do Role Models? I think he did Role Models too.
Did he? Oh, wow, I didn't know.
To me, that didn't qualify as dumb though, because that movie is trying to say something.
There is something going on in that movie.
Yeah. But I ended up going with, and this is the one I feel is a little underrated. It's They Came Together. This is it's a rom-com spoof movie, written by David Wayne.
I've always wanted to see this. This has been in my queue forever.
Funny,
yeah.
It's written by David Wayne and Michael Showalter. David Wayne directs it. He did do Role Models. I double checked that. And of course, Medical Police and Children's Hospital, both of which I really loved.
I love Children's Hospital. Good stuff.
Medical Police was basically Children's Hospital, but like with the same actors.
I saw it. Yeah,
it's so funny. But the cast here is kind of absurd. It's Paul Rudd, Amy Poehler, Bill Hader, Ellie Kemper, Kobe Smulders, Jason Mantzoukas, Michael Ian Black. I mean, it's all the regular players and then some. Randall Park, Chris Maloney. Chris Maloney, I think, in this movie has a great bit where he shit his pants at a party. And then he changed his clothes. Like, it's a Halloween party. I think he dresses as a superhero. So he shits his pants. And then when he comes out of the bathroom, he's in a bathrobe.
Okay.
And there's actually still shit on his leg, but he doesn't see it. But so he comes out acting all casual, like, yeah, I just felt like changing costumes. And then somebody else goes in the bathroom and goes, why is there a shit covered superhero suit? And like, it's so funny. And he's like, he's looking around like, I don't know. Did anybody else, he's acting all casual about it. Yeah. It's so funny. It's the level of dumb in it is probably more so than Wet Hot American Summer, and Role Models doesn't really have a lot of dumb humor in it. It's just very funny.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Because of the situations, pretty much. But there's like questions in it, like quotes in it, like hey, can I ask you a question? How do you sleep at night? And Paul Rudd's like, I usually jerk off and sleep pretty soundly. There's also a part where Paul Rudd's character, after having a falling out with, I think, Amy Poehler, goes to a bar, and he's sitting there having a drink, and he orders another one from the bartender, and he's like, give me another one, man, make it a double. And the bartender's like, you look like you had a bad day. And Joel, that's his character's name, is Joel, and he goes, tell me about it. Bartender goes, well, you came in here looking like crap and you haven't said very much. And he goes, well, you can say that again. Well, you came in here looking like crap and you haven't said very much. And so it's just, they do this for like 5 minutes. They're going back and forth of like, tell me about it. Came in here looking like crap and you haven't said very much. Like, they're just, it's so dumb.
I love comedy that overstays its welcome. That's some of my favorite flavors.
That sticks around to the point where you're not laughing again yet.
Yeah.
Like you calm down and then you come back around and start laughing.
Yeah, it's funny again. Yeah, by the time it's over.
They do it again with so the way that the story is playing out is Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler are at dinner with Bill Hader and Ellie Kemper. It's a double date, and they're explaining their story about how they met and stuff. One of my favorite bits was the thing that they always do in rom-coms, where the lead character will consult with a family member or a friend and about their situation, about their love life, and after they finish talking to each other and having a heart-to-heart, they stop the other person from walking out of the room and go, hey, thanks. So they did that in this movie. Max Greenfield plays Paul Rudd's brother. They did that in this movie like 6 times. They were like, hey, wait, hold on. thanks.
Oh, God, that's
like
that's my shit. That's very much my shit.
Yeah. And then when they kept doing that, and it's supposed to be clear that Paul Rudd is telling this part of the story. They cut to the dinner scene, and Bill Hader's just got this serious look in his face, like, "How dare you, like, tell this part of the story in that way? Like, hey, thanks." And he's just like, stone faced, like pissed off, like, "Please stop with the hey, thanks."
Yeah.
Such a funny cutting gag. But yeah, it's that type of dumb humor where it's just repetitive. And I can see why that might not click with some people, but it's
comedy's subjective.
For us, it's gonna work, man. Yeah, you're totally gonna like this movie.
All right, yeah, I put it down on my list of shame, so that means I'll get to it quick.
I've already seen it a few times for sure.
It's on Netflix, isn't it? I think it was on Netflix for a while.
I ended up just buying it because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Okay, all right.
But I do recall at the time that it came out, I think I was working. I think I recall where I was working, and I talked about movies all the time with my coworkers. And when I brought this one up, they were always like, "Dude, I can't believe you recommended that movie to me." Like, they hated this movie so much.
Yeah. It's a hard one because, like, I know when I'm watching a weird comedy or a dumb comedy, you know. Yeah. So, like, I'm reluctant to like sing praises from the mountaintops.
Yeah.
But if like I'm close to you and I kind of know what kind of humor you're into, like, I'll pitch you a Wayne movie all day, you know. Like,
exactly.
But like that's not something I'd be like, "Hey, Mom, sit down and." Watch this movie. It's lost on certain generations.
I think I could pretty much at this point only recommend this to you and maybe our mutual friend who we used to podcast with, JD.
Yeah.
Just because I know you guys share a lot of the same senses of humor and stuff.
For sure.
But yeah, what's another one of yours?
My next one is a little movie called Black Dynamite. This is Michael Jai White.
How have I not seen this one still? That's so crazy.
Have you not seen this movie? Yeah,
I don't know.
Another movie that you can't help me quote. No. This is like a spoof on blaxploitation, Shaft-like movies and stuff like that, as I'm sure you're aware of. But it is absolutely dumb in every sense of the word. It's racially charged because it's supposed to be, but it's using lots of stereotypes, especially when depicting like Chinese people and stuff like that. But it's super funny. Michael Jai White has such a knack for amazing humor. And I remember this being a movie that didn't come out immediately. It couldn't get a distributor. So it would come to like your town and there would be like one screening of it one night. And like, if you just missed it, you were probably never going to see it again until it got like a DVD release when it finally at the end of the tour, this movie was like a cult classic and everybody loved it. So then it got distribution and everything like that. So like I've
seen it brought up very frequently in terms of like best comedies in general. Like,
it's
people
super
really
funny,
love this
man.
movie.
Yeah, it's super funny and it's outrageous, ridiculous humor. Where it's like stupid stuff where like he's always like straight faced, like Black Dynamite's really, really like, straight faced stoic hero or whatever. And like someone will tell him to smile and he's just like, "I am smiling." And he's just totally not smiling. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and the way he delivers it's just so absolutely stupid. It's great, And there's another scene where it gets me every single time, and I won't go into detail because I think it's funnier if you actually witness it. But like, he's at the end of the movie, and he is figuring out some way to take down the main boss or whatever. And he like has an idea, and he comes in and breaks into like the room where the bad guy is, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere like a boomerang comes in and like hits the guy in the head, and he's like, "Ha! I threw that shit before I came in the room," like, and like you never see him do it. Like, it's just so random and so dumb, and like that's this whole thing, and like even the fight scenes are like super corny and dumb, like the way he's like throwing people, and like this guy's like a real martial artist, so it's like you could have gotten this guy to do good fight scenes, but that's not the vibe of this movie,
Right.
Like, it's supposed to be corny and dumb and a throwback to a time where movies were shot in a particular way, and the full lean into it and the amount of like recognizable faces. Or he goes to talk to the local leaders of the community or whatever, and like he's talking about like, "Hey, we got to stop selling drugs in the community," and they're like, "But Black Dynamite, I sell drugs in the community," and he's like, "Yeah, but like, I mean the other people, like, we gotta stop them from selling drugs." And it's just stupid. I love this movie so much, and I don't know where you can watch it these days. It might be on Netflix or Hulu or something like that.
I've seen it at one point on Netflix.
Maybe HBO picked up the rights because I know the cartoon was on Adult Swim, so there might be some sort of like partnership there. But it is so worth
it looks like it's on HBO. Yeah.
Everybody
right.
really go out and this is
that's the show. Sorry, that's the show.
This is like the most accessible dumb movie I think I have on my list too. Like this is the most accessible, I would say, in terms of like, I could reach out further outside of my net to recommend this to many other people. But great movie.
I'm adding it to my queue. It is on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah. Amazon Prime. Okay.
Yep. If you got a Prime membership, you can totally stream it for freezies. My next one is, let's see. I went very white with mine, and I feel very bad now.
Don't make it seem like it was.
I'm gonna go with a Adam McKay movie since you talked about Talladega Nights. I'm gonna go with Step Brothers.
This almost made it. Yeah.
This is unequivocally a stupid movie. Like there is no. Yes, it is about two grown-ass men trying to become brothers in a step sense, obviously. But why? Why? They're 40. Who cares? Like, why do that?
The stakes are unnecessarily high.
Yes, exactly. That's part of the humor is like, we're going to treat this like an epic, even though it is incredibly stupid. Like the Catalina wine mixer is just so insane.
Well, like everyone's, it's a scene where everyone in the scene is moved, but you as a viewer is like, this is the dumbest thing in the entire world. Just the song that's going on, him singing, and John C. Reilly singing "Boats and Hoes" in the background. You know, everyone's tearing up in the. It's so stupid. The fucking Catalina wine mixer. It's so dumb.
And I just love the quotes that I get from it.
Yeah.
All the time, like that I take away from it all the time, and like might say often is, I think there's a part in the car where Will Ferrell's talking to his mom, and he's in the back seat. Again, another element of humor that you're like, why is he in the back?
Yeah, he's a grown-ass adult.
Where he's explaining that he'll never call Richard Jenkins dad. You know his character. I'll never call him dad, not even if there's a fire. So I say the "not even if there's a fire" thing all the time now because of that movie. Because it makes no sense. I just love that. I love the line where the exchange between John C. Reilly and Richard Jenkins, and he's like, what if she starts getting the hots for me, right? Yep. She sees me coming out of the shower. She's looking at my body. She sees my chest pubes all the way to my ball, bro.
My chest pubes all the way to my ball, bro.
And Richard Jenkins, in his classic way that he does it, just goes, well, you shut the fuck up.
I like when he's like, well, that's never going to happen. And he's like, well, and then she says, well, I've already had the old bull. Why do I take the young calf? Would you shut the fuck up? It's too good.
Did you touch my drum set exchange? It's just iconic. That has bled over into social media, too. Sometimes I'll scroll through TikTok, and people will share screenshots of them matching with somebody on Tinder. And they'll literally just be reciting the "Did you touch my drum set" exchange, like word for word. It's the scene with a complete stranger, and that's like how you know who passes the vibe check. Basically, is like who can quote that verbatim. I thought that was really funny too. And then the Adam Scott's entire existence in the movie is so
Adam Scott is such a good heel in this movie. Yeah. It's too good. Yeah.
I love them singing "Sweet Child of Mine" and when by the way, this was when Kathryn Hahn first showed up.
Yeah, this is my first Kathryn Hahn movie too.
And when she starts singing and he's like, God, you were just
flat.
Look at your face. You look so dumb, right? Like, it's just so funny how he's saying
$500 a week on singing lessons, and this is what I get. Flat.
And then the sex scene with her and John C. Reilly, and how she's basically like, she's standing up doing it with him, and he's like, how are you doing? In his voice that our friend JD can do. How are you doing this? And then she's like, stay golden pony boy, and slaps him on the ass while she goes to the urinal.
She pees in the urinal. Yeah, she like hikes her leg up or whatever. Oh my God, it's so good. And like looking back on that, and just knowing how these movies are shot, I'm like, some of that had to have been like improv by her, you know, because
in the moment.
Yeah.
It was definitely if you watch any behind the scenes on Adam McKay features, like the other guys and stuff like that, he's constantly in the back, in the middle of a scene. He'll constantly be like, cut. All right, say this or try this. He'll just shout suggestions that don't even exist on the page at all. So like, it's just like most of it's coming from him, and he's just a comedic genius in that way with dumb comedy. And I feel like it's a little bit of both. Like Kathryn Hahn is also doing an improv thing, and Adam McKay is suggesting.
Sure, it's a culture of comedic talent.
Yes, it's a great marriage. And honey, Dane Cook, 20 minutes, HBO, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Love that.
And her just infatuation with John C. Reilly's character.
And that was around the time I remember that joke coming. Hearing that joke for the first time. I actually avoided this movie for a while, and I don't know why.
I hated this movie the first time I saw it. Hated it. Yeah. And then like people are like, dude, come on, man. And I love Will Ferrell. I'm not like some like tryhard or whatever like that. I just didn't like the movie. Yeah. Literally the second time I watched it, I've never laughed harder. And I'm like, what the fuck? What kind of mood was I in when I? Yeah. And it wasn't like years later. It was like months later when it hit DVD. You know, I saw it in theaters, hated it. Months later, it came out.
Watching it for the first time, it was again on home video, like your example. And I was with my family, and I think it was like Christmas Eve or something. And I think it was my brother's suggestion. He is like, dude, how have you not seen this? You know, like, you know, I know you love Anchorman and you watched that. I still watched Anchorman religiously by this point. He's like, he knew the type of movies the comedy movies that I watched. So we watched it, and I'd never seen my sister-in-law laugh so hard at a movie in my life. That was her first time seeing it, and she was just losing it. And if anybody knew my sister-in-law, you'd be like, what, her? Really? Like,
even I'm like, her? Yeah.
She's just a little, she keeps that stuff kind of reserved. Like those type of feelings a little reserved sometimes during movies, at least. But she was just losing it. And I remember that was just such a fun experience. My dad was losing it too. And like, yeah, dude, that movie is just so colossally stupid on every front. From them getting beat up by kids, being forced to lick the dog poop, and like everything. It's just so dumb. I love it. What's another one of yours?
So my second one, I don't even know if these are in like a true order, but I'm kind of doing that on the fly. It is Team America. World Police.
We name dropped that one. I don't know if we were recording or not, but we were discussing what list should we do. Oh, Team America would fit there, you know.
Yeah. It might have been the and like I couldn't get this one off my list. You know, at some points I was like, what? I want to put South Park bigger, larger, uncut on there because like that fits or whatever. But like, and not there's an emotional resonance, but like South Park is always about something. Like it's always like it's always a message about something. Maybe it's not a good message or but you know, but like there's a message there. So, but like Team America.
I will say South Park, that movie, is Oscar nominated. So I mean,
it is, yeah. So it's hard
prestigious.
To be. Yeah, and it won a Grammy too. It won a Grammy. Yeah. So like, I had to omit it, even though that movie is plenty dumb. You know, they have a whole song called Uncle Fucker, and it's just shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker, and it's that for like 5 minutes. You know. It's so dumb. But I had to do Team America because this movie is literally stupid. It's just puppets. Like, you could tell. I heard that the shooting of this was like a nightmare or whatever, but like you could tell they were having a lot of fun with it. And like I know just in the writer rooms they're like, yeah, and then like when they have to epically run at each other, we'll just like bob them, you know. So so it's like even their movements get really stupid, like whenever like big serious fights or moments are about to happen, and like just the dumps, like I love look on their faces, like when they're delivering lines.
When the main guy goes undercover with the terrorists or whatever, and he's like, the emergency signal is to open your mouth and flail your arms about.
Yeah. That's it. And then he does it later, and the guy's like, that asshole's mocking us, you know. Quick, get him, and they're shooting at him harder, you know.
Oh man! And then of course we mentioned before the iconic vomiting scene and how the music slows and then it swells back up again as he starts to projectile vomit again.
That's the kind of like overstaying humor that is
I love that. Same thing with the sex scene. Way too long, but so long.
And if you're watching the director's cut, even longer. Grosser.
Yeah. And that's what's funny is like they put in they do this all the time when they test the censors and stuff on South Park too. They'll make the worst version of a joke possible, and then when the network says or the studio says pump the brakes, you need to like make this a little less NC-17, a little more R, they go, cool, that's what we wanted anyway. Like, I mean, that's you know, they
have their real one like behind a Trojan gate of like of just a fake outlandish one, which is genius, and they're getting away with it for years.
And that's what they did with the sex scene. They added so much ludicrous crap in the director's cut, and they knew it was going to get cut, but they were like, well,
but it's just as ridiculous in the theater or whatever version you watch. You know, it's just extra. You know, with the director's cut, and it's a lot of great lines. You know, what precedes that particular scene where if you promise me you'll never die, I'll have sex with you. And he like grabs her and like turns it around. He goes, "I promise, I will never die." And the way that he delivers it is so like so stupid. It's great.
I forgot about that.
I will never die.
Another core memory for me of that movie is from the first time I saw it, and I think I was still at Blockbuster at the time this came out, so it was a free rental for me. But from the first time I saw it, the main thing that stuck out to me, other than the vomiting scene and the sex scene, was the Pearl Harbor sucked and I miss you song. Like,
yeah.
Pearl Harbor sucked, but not as Pearl Harbor has nothing to do with the montage.
Yeah, no, they're just taking a jab at a Ben Affleck movie, and I'm so here for it.
Yeah.
And I just like at the very end, the whole if you want to call it message of the movie is that like sometimes assholes need to be fucked by dicks, you know. Like, and it's just this big like metaphor for like people keeping each other in check or whatever, right. And it's the only way the South Park dudes could like explain that or do that, you know. Right. And just like, you know, Alec Baldwin being like a major heel villain in that, very topical today, I guess. Everyone sees him as a pretty villainous guy, so that's pretty funny. And just all the like at the very end when like all the other like actors come up and just the way that they're represented is just so funny. And I always remember the Matt Damon, which I know everyone quotes that or whatever, but the story behind that is just so funny, where like they made that just to be Matt Damon, and then like someone on set was like, yeah, that looked like Matt Damon if he had Down syndrome, and like the guys were like, he's got Down syndrome in this, so like that's why he does it was just because like the way they made him, he kind of looked like he had Down syndrome, so like that's they kind of played up that joke with the way that he talks or whatever.
Who was it that got so mad that they actually like wrote a letter or called them and gave him a piece there? I think it might have been Alec Baldwin, who was like legit heated.
Yeah, it could have been. That seems like something he'd get heated about.
Yeah. I'm trying to not say an off-color joke about Alec Baldwin's current situation related to that, but I'll pump the brakes and I'll not do that. We're not here to do that.
Yeah. Cool your chets, your gun barrels, whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, that one slipped. I'm sorry.
It did slip. That felt like a genuine slip, actually. But I think it was him, and Matt Damon, of course, was upset, but not like in a outwardly sense. I think he told his publicist. I think got around that he was mad, but like
years later, he's like, I really don't care, you know. Yeah. But like, I remember like that got around too. Yeah. The movie is like it's so dumb. Like it's just like South Park. Like, how could you get mad at it?
Yeah,
like I know, but like it'd be like Barbra Streisand getting mad at like her which she did, at her Mecha Streisand stuff or whatever. Like you look dumb, like because obviously nobody sees you as a giant mechanized robot, you know, like it does. Right. So like you know, so I feel like people like there was a long time where people just weren't like being mad at South Park, and then all of a sudden like Alec Baldwin was just like, oh, I'm upset that they made fun of me. I'm like, they made fun of you a lot. Like you're the butt of their jokes often, actually.
Well, there was also an instance where God, that reminds me of something else that somebody got. I don't know if somebody got mad at them about it. Now, see, it was on the tip of my brain, and then
on the tip of the tongue of the brain,
and then I assume it exited through my ears because it's not coming through my mouth. That's for sure.
I
love the movie. I gotta make an annual watch, honestly, because
that's really a good annual watch. Even like when like they lose and they play like the America Fuck Yeah song, but like somberly. It cracks me up every single time. It's like America Fuck Yeah.
It's like harmonized too. It's like,
yeah. It's like just really down tempo or whatever. It's just it's stupid.
I have to go with an equally dumb movie that has just as many explosions, but it is live action. And this is one that probably the only movie I ironically rated 5 stars. It's probably closer to 4 on Letterboxd. But it's MacGruber. I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd and just said, you know what? F you guys. It's an overcorrection because this is a poorly rated movie. Like I remember when it came out and reviews were abysmal, it had a horrible turnout at the box office. And I watched it like twice in theaters and like 5 times at home that year. Like I love this movie so much. It is so colossally stupid from beginning to end. And it's everything I wanted out of an R-rated version of MacGruber. Like I think I've waxed poetic about this movie.
I need to watch the show. I still have, and I love the movie. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, so, yeah. You'll like them. Yeah, the show capitalizes a lot on the violence, for sure. Like, they're like, well, let's get more violent now that we have the budget. Not the budget, but the special effects to be able to enforce it and make it look believable. He rips so many throats in the show. It is so uncomfortable. It's amazing. So funny, though. And Lawrence Fishburne is in the show, and he does the sex scene thing. in the same kind of tone that MacGruber, like Will Forte did the sex scene in the movie, where you're like, how did they get Lawrence Fishburne to commit to this? It's so crazy. He's doing like the, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so awkward.
Not Morpheus.
Yeah, I know. It's easy to forget that he's an actor that can be down for anything. Like,
yeah.
You know, he's whatever the role calls for, he'll commit to it. But yeah, I love the movie so much. Dieter von Kunth is a great villain name.
It is.
I remember hearing that for the first time in the movie, and me and my dad just lost it. We were like, "You can't call a character that. Are you shitting me?" And then there was a part where he's walking across the street, and a guy almost runs him over, and he goes, "Hey, fuck you!" And then he's like reciting the license plate, you know, under his breath. And then that becomes an obsession for him, is like the license plate, and like Ryan Phillippe later finds his diary where it's like just drawings of like disturbing drawings of the license plate, and like MacGruber drew himself taking a crap on the car, and like later on he finds the car when he's on the phone and he's like destroying it and setting it on fire and stuff. It's
which Ryan Phillippe shows up too, you know, like, dude, this is a guy who, like, I didn't know he had any of this in him, you know.
Right, me neither. I didn't know he was gonna stick celery in his butt and like do the diversion tactic. That was not what I expected from this movie. The sex scene is so funny between him and well, both of them. Between him and Kristen Wiig, and then the ghost of my Rudolph. That one's probably funnier because they do eventually cut away to the ghost, to where you see it from like the grave, whatever you call the graveyard workers. Undertaker. Whenever you see it from the graveyard employee's perspective, it's just him humping the midair with his pants down, going, "I'm gonna fill you up," and there's like nobody. It's so funny. It's such a great visual.
Yeah, I totally remember that. Yeah.
But the sex scene with him and Kristen Wiig is apparently they put a comical amount of sweat in the shot, where they're just spray bottled to death,
spritzing them down.
To where Kristen Wiig, you can see her put her hands up in the scene because she's trying to get water out of her face. Like it's like the sweat water is like just pouring down on her, and she's like doing this. And they left it in the movie because it's just such a funny visual.
It's too good. You gotta take that out.
Yeah. And the whole time he's like, "I'm gonna fill you up," and he's making the most uncomfortable porn sounds that you would never want to hear in a porn movie. It's so funny.
Oh man, this is one that I need to put on my annual watch. Yeah, because
I need to as well, and I need to rewatch the series, because when I watched the series first time, it was kind of like I was doing it half the show. I was doing it while I was working.
Yeah.
So I think there were some dumb jokes that I might have missed, and it's one of those. It is a rewarding thing. Oh, and the way they used wrestlers in the movie. They cast so many WWE wrestlers. Like Chris Jericho had a great exchange with him, where they were improvising. According to Jericho, they improvised that whole exchange where he's like, "You're looking good, you too," and I love when you joke, and and they're just like, there's a quote between them that's really funny, and I can't remember it off the top of my head now, but apparently it's improvised. And they use like Great Khali and like Mark Henry and like all these wrestlers from that era, and they all go into a van and blow up, and like
that's right.
The van blows up, and you hear Will Forte go, "Oh no, are you guys okay?" They're clearly all dead. No, are you okay? God damn it. I love this movie so much. Anyway, what's another one of yours?
I absolutely love that movie, and I'm probably gonna go and watch it like either sometime this week for sure, because I want to watch the show now, but like I want to watch the movie again first.
To go refresh.
God, that's good. So I have this is my king of dumb movies. It's my number one favorite dumb movie in terms of like stuff that I quote and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's Hot Rod.
Oh wow, babe!
Babe, wait, babe. Yeah, this movie is like, so we've been circling the drain on the same kind of Kyle really likes redundant jokes. This is redundant joke the movie.
Yeah,
everything overstays its welcome in like sometimes uncomfortable ways, but like it's very funny to me, and I absolutely love it. Even like small little throwaway moments, like when he's going in to fight Ian McShane, his stepdad or whatever, and like him and his like brother.
By the way, we gotta backtrack. I can't believe they got Ian McShane to do this movie. That's so crazy.
I can't believe he was games you all this stuff. He shits his pants at the end of this movie.
Yes.
Anyways, like before he goes in to fight his father to prove that he's a man, like him and his brother will like commiserate or whatever, and he's like, ancestors protect me. May they protect you. And they'll like grab each other by the back of the neck and like put their heads together. And it's just so stupid. And they do it again at the end of the movie. Yeah. It's like, God of War, may your hammer be mighty. And then like it, and then they walk into the room to fight.
Oh man.
And just the cool beans part, you know,
yeah,
just
cool
like
beans.
Cool beans, you know, that 10 minutes of just like nonsense right there.
And I got to shout out my favorite bit is because I have quite a history with the movie Footloose.
Sure.
So like I saw the movie several times when I got cast to be in the musical in high school. And so like I memorized that movie. I recognized the Hot Rod, the scene in Hot Rod where he's doing a dance.
Yeah.
Directly straight from Footloose, except there's a part where he falls and he tumbles for like 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That's one of my favorite gags in the whole movie. Is he's like, sometimes I go to the woods and I kick dance my emotions out, you know, and like he goes out there
straight up from Footloose.
He just takes a stumble and never stops falling. And I know you probably like, yeah, I've seen that joke before. This is the best version of that joke.
I promise you, it's the best version of that joke.
Yeah.
And it's clearly like a dummy being like, clearly not.
Like a little cut to like him falling off a cliff, you know, like it's so outrageously stupid. And I absolutely love it. What are some other good ones?
And the payoff as well at the end where he's doing the stunt and it clearly goes as horrible as you'd expect it to.
Yeah. It's
that was just
like
such a brilliant payoff.
Yeah, and they don't. Like he totally woofs it or whatever. But like Bill Hader's in this movie. He plays a really weird character. You know, he talks about like one of my coworkers gave me acid at work, and that whole scene where he like shoots like a piece of metal in his eye or whatever, and has to call like Rod to go pick him up and take him to the hospital. And then you had Danny McBride, which this might be the first time I like at least recognized that I knew who, you know, I was like, this guy's really funny. And he hauls off.
I saw him in, now that you mentioned
he like hauls off and beats up some guy. He's like, I've been drinking Mountain Dew all day, motherfucker. You know, I'm all jacked up, you know, and he, what does he say? He's like, I go to church every Sunday and you're going to bring the devil out of me? And he's just whooping the shit out of this guy. It's so outrageous. Yeah, this is my hat now. And he puts on the hat.
Not wrong. The first movie one of the first movies that he did that kind of brought him to the centerfold of the comedy landscape was The Foot Fist Way. I've never seen it, but I've heard that movie's really funny.
It's so good.
And then right after that was Hot Rod. So like, he started.
He was the lead in Foot Fist Way. That's wild.
Yeah, he was the lead. Yeah.
Very good movie. I like that movie quite a bit.
I gotta watch it still. I know Jody Hill did it, and Jody Hill's like his writing partner and stuff in a lot of things.
Oh, okay. All right. Is that guy who did Ricky Bobby? Not Ricky Bobby.
No, he did
the baseball show. The baseball show.
He did Eastbound and Down, Vice
Eastbound. Thank you.
Righteous Gemstones. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's it. Like
he did all the things with Danny.
All the things they've done together. Vice principals. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I really like this movie. Me and one of my employees up at work, like we quote this movie like every day, and it's like it's just one of those movies that are just like cool infinitely quotable, and it's super cool beans all day, and. Even like I like when Chris Parnell is like describing like his tattoo. He has a tattoo of like the kid like on the back of the truck that's like peeing on something, you know. But like one's the AM radio and one's the FM. Like I forget what the explanation is. And why does he have two pee streams? Well, let me tell you why. I like to think he had sex the night before and has a little bit of residue in his. And it just the links that he goes to describe this like totally nonsensical like joke is just so funny. And like everybody's here committing super hard, and like Eliza Fisher, you know, when she was doing comedies and stuff a lot, she was super great in this movie. There's this line where like she comes back to town and Rod sees her for the first time. And he's like, under his breath, he's like, "You look pretty," and she's like, "What'd you say?" And he goes, "You look shitty," and he just runs off. And just stupid jokes like that.
Great cover up.
Yeah, just great cover up. Yeah.
Was that your final one? I forgot.
It is, yeah.
Started. Okay, so yeah, then my final one is the one that kind of introduced me to all the dumb movies that I enjoyed today, and that's Billy Madison, which I still love. I still love this movie.
I love Billy Madison.
To date, I'll still watch it and crack up at the "Do you have any more gum?" bit. I'll crack up at he called the shit poop.
He called the shit poop.
Yeah, like it still kills me. So sorry to interrupt.
That's probably my That's probably my first like dumb movie I saw too. The whole penguin thing at the beginning. Yeah, it's too damn hot for a penguin to be walking around.
Here. Yeah. And then the "Stop Looking at Me, Swan," and one of my favorite visual gags is him going to like this very distinguished dinner with his family, and his dad's at the head of the table, and he comes in dressed like Billy because he looks like a dork.
Yeah.
And then he comes in, the way he sips
it. When he's eating soup.
And the way he's eating it like a cartoon character compared to everybody else who's just normal. Yeah. So funny, dude. Such great visual gags. And bless, what's his name? The guy that played the bad guy. The actor is so good. Bradley Whitford, that's his name. They got him before he started doing West Wing and started doing like, all of these distinguished, like established roles that were big for him. They got him to do this like Weasley crap and the scene where
that's what I know. Like every time I see him, even though he's so prestigious of an actor now, I'm like, oh, that's the bad guy from Billy Madison.
Yeah, that's the bad guy who doesn't know what business ethics are. Like,
yeah, right. Man, am I glad I called that guy.
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, and he like gives him the thumbs up after he snipes the guy.
The way he like puts his gun down and soldiers on like he's in a war zone. Like, it's so ridiculous. Steve Buscemi, that's an all-time cameo from him. Like,
it really is, yeah. I like how he leans back and puts the like lipstick on his face.
Oh my gosh, it crosses
his name off the list. Yeah. I haven't even thought about that. Thanks. Yeah.
And then Chris Farley, just knocking it out of the park. I mean, that's not a surprise, but what he's asked to do in such a brief role is like one of the most memorable parts of the movie.
Yeah.
The Veronica, we got it on, woo-wee, and then him, getting hit with a banana and stuff, and like how red in the face he is, like he's so heated. And then there's a scene where that's the only problematic scene to me is when he is going over to talk to Veronica Vaughn, and he was dared to touch her boob or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only problematic scene. And like when he goes, "Whoops, damn driver's losing his mind" or whatever, and she goes, "Go back to your seat. I double dog dare you." And because she heard all of it.
Yeah,
and he goes, "I mistake tit."
I mistake tit.
Oh man, and then the pee in your pants thing. There's so many great bits in this movie.
Everything is a bit. Like everything feels like a bit in this movie. It's excellent. And it's like I know like Adam Sandler's like a joke now and like yada yada. I don't find him funny these days either. Like I get it,
Yeah.
But like this was like he was king back then. Like this was like that was the pinnacle of comedy. I know it's stupid to say, but like movies like that and Happy Gilmore and you start taking a fall off.
The Waterboy, Wedding Singer.
Before we got to the Little Nicky territories, we had some good like Waterboy and Wedding Singer and stuff like that. But then you start getting a dip in quality. But like we're talking about an era of comedy that he owned, and this is the dumbest of those movies. Little Nicky probably standing. I think that movie's much dumber, but not as funny, even though I like that movie.
I like Big Daddy too. I think I watched that a lot.
Big Daddy's got a lot of feels. Yeah. I like that movie. Yeah. That's one of those movies where I'm just like, oh man, an Adam Sandler movie kind of making me cry right now. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
I'll revisit that feeling again and click. So
I think that was the first. That movie made me cry. Oh man, that made me.
I cried.
Movie made me cry buckets. I think that Big Daddy. Now that we're talking about movies that we might have seen actors in for the first time, I think that was the first movie I saw Leslie Mann in, and she's like the bitchy best friend's girlfriend or something like that. Like, and they're always yelling at each other or saying horrible things to each other. He's always making jokes about her boobs being lopsided or something. Anyway, Billy Madison is definitely. It's a shame to say, for me at least, that he, comedy-wise, might have peaked too soon. But like, Billy Madison's the pinnacle for me, and then it's Happy Gilmore, and then it's just kind of like I rank them like kind of in order the way that they came out, like Wedding Singer, Waterboy, Big Daddy, and then there's nothing really to sing about with Adam Sandler until Punch Drunk Love, and then again there's a long break in between quality movies for him, and we don't get to talk about him again until Uncut Gems, like Uncut Gems. So I mean, what a weird career for that guy.
Big time.
But I'm certainly, I never thought I would say this, thinking back on myself seeing Billy Madison for the first time, but I'm certainly pumped to see his next dramatic work.
Yeah, me too. If it's as good as Uncut Gems, I'm super in. So
like, I think he's working. His next movie is with the Safdie brothers. So I mean, I'm in, dude. Yeah. I'll see whatever they do together.
Lightning in a bottle may strike twice, or whatever the saying is. Maybe you can catch lightning in a bottle twice.
Maybe a unicorn can.
Maybe a unicorn can sprout its wings when it metamorphosizes into a butterfly.
Yeah, I think that's. There you go. I think that's the expression. We nailed it.
So my mom used to tell me.
Yep. That's how she would say that. She would say that. My mom would say that to me before I go to bed. That's how it put me to sleep. It's like a.
My mom still calls me and says that right before I fall asleep every night.
It's getting out of hand. All right.
I did have one. I don't want to dwell on it, but this one I legitimately forgot this movie existed until like halfway through our list or whatever. So I just want to throw it out there. It's a movie that I absolutely adore. I quote all the time, and I think is absolutely stupid. It's Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Imagine a dude who's very funny in his own right, taking a Chinese movie from like way back when and like editing it to hell and it just being a nightmare, you know.
Yeah.
Of just like bad voices and bad editing. It's funny. It's so bad it's funny, you know.
I have a memory of that one too, watching it with my dad and my brother, and repeatedly actually when we all lived together. And my mom's in the kitchen, like at one point, she's like, "Will you turn that off?" Because she's so annoyed with everything.
That is the type of movie this is. That like it is the movie that if it's playing too loud and someone in the other room is not game, they're gonna hate you for life.
Yes, yeah.
And I had one joke, and I still say it to this day. Anytime anyone mentions, gives me, hands me, I see any kind of apparatus of nuts, I always scream, "That's a lot of nuts!" And that's it. That's my whole story. So.
The way that he peaks the volume.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, yeah?
Yeah.
That's a lot of nuts.
Because I don't think the character said it that way. I think it's him in the editing room raising the volume on it to make it sound distorted.
Because the guy, like, he even, like, winces. He's like, because he's screaming so loud. And then, like, when he leaves, he's like, he's like, yeah, he just left with nuts. So
dumb.
Anyways, I've completely.
The other one that I would want to mention is it's a Coen Brothers movie that is not talked about often enough, and it is dumb. And it's The Hudsucker Proxy. I highly recommend that movie.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that? It's so good, dude.
No, I'm a
Tim Robbins plays somebody who kind of accidentally his way into being the CEO of a toy company. After the CEO, I think, either jumps or falls out of a window, and that's like up for debate in the movie. But he's kind of like an innocent man-child. So like he's coming up with ideas that are like not ideas at all. Like his main idea in the movie was he takes a napkin and draws a circle on it and then shows it to the board of directors and goes, for kids. And they're like, what the hell does that mean? Like, but it's great, dude. It's so good. Maybe not as dumb as Burn After Reading, but it is criminally
Burn
underrated.
After Reading is great. I like that movie.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, dude. Brad Pitt,
what a clusterfuck.
On the Brad Pitt just running on the treadmill is just an all-time image, dude, for his career.
Yeah.
Just punching
We're just
air.
seeing a smiling face right before he gets his brains blown out, you know?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That caught everybody off guard in the theater. I saw it opening weekend with my mom, and I hate to all these memories, I saw opening weekend with my mom, and then when the credits rolled, there was a couple behind us, and the girl, she had an accent, but I didn't see what she looked. I don't know what she looked like at all. But she just kept saying, "That's so stupid. That's so stupid." She kept saying over and over, "That's so stupid, though." And her poor boyfriend / husband was just kind of like sighing, like, "Why did I bring you to this?" Like that's what it sounded like. That's my memory of that movie. But then I got to enjoy it more over the years, watching it over and over again.
Yeah,
it's very funny. We could literally just make this the main topic of one of our podcast episodes at some point and just go a full hour, honestly, because there's so many good ones to talk about.
There's too many good ones. Yeah. And it's good list. Started on like the TV, like absurdist comedy era and stuff that. This dumb comedy, like kind of turned into, like that Tim and Eric or Eric Andre, or just like that weird avant-garde.
My God, Eric Andre's a good one.
Yeah. Like we have that stuff now because of these movies that we mentioned today. Yeah. They walk so it could run. But yeah, dumb comedies. Woo!
Well, I'm gonna look over America's Pick 5, which I'm actually kind of happy with this week at the box office. Just to recap, not really going to dwell on much, but there have been some movement. Thankfully, the number one is not the same this week. Finally. So number 5 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Number 4 is Number 4 is a BTS concert movie. Good for them, I guess. They don't have enough success going on, so good for them. Number 3 is believe it or not, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Number 3 is Avatar: The Way of Water. I've never been more proud of this country. Wow. Never.
Good job, everybody. You moved on quicker than before.
You know what that means? Number 2 is 80 for Brady, guys.
What is it?
80 for Brady.
What is that?
It's old ladies going to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. That's what that is.
Man.
It's like a movie that you watch a trailer of and you go, that's not real. There's no way that's a real movie.
No, I don't want to even talk about this any longer.
And then number 1 is Knock at the Cabin, which I didn't love. It was kind of meh, but I am glad to see it at number 1. Like, I think that's really cool.
This is kind of a lesser of two hell situation for me. It's like, yay, Avatar! It's finally dead. Oh, but like, M. Night Shyamalan is like winning. Yeah. I don't know how great I feel about that, but I do feel better than I did last week. So thank you.
And if it helps, Batista is just easy to root for, and he's the lead, and he's so good in that movie too. Like, he is definitely the high point of the movie.
I know he's getting like a lot of guff right now. Like, well, you just want to be Drax after it did so much for him. Like, he's allowed to move on. You know, everybody. Like, he's allowed to do that.
He even made the parallel because people really didn't pay attention to him. Some people didn't pay attention to him in his wrestling career. He did the same thing in wrestling. He didn't wrestle forever. His last match was against Triple H like 3 or 4 years ago. And he said it was time to walk away. It's the same thing. Just let him walk away. It's not a big deal.
You move on sometimes. Yeah. It's whatever. I like that guy. He's good.
I
watch
like
Blade Runner. Don't be moved by that performance.
So
Try not to be moved by that performance.
You've never seen a miracle. Ooh!
You've never seen a miracle.
It hurts. It hurts so good. All right. Well, that's this week's episode of Current Cinema. Thanks to everybody that continues to watch and listen. Please subscribe to us in our own separate feed from the Current Gen podcast. And I do mean in the podcast apps. I don't mean on YouTube. On YouTube, we're still going to be where you see us now.
Yeah.
But as far as podcast feeds go, hey, we need to pump up those numbers.
And if you're the commenting type, tell us your favorite dumb movies.
Oh, please, because there are so many to
hear. I would love to hear that. Yeah, everyone's got a dumb movie they like, you know.
So next week, stay tuned. We're going to talk about Magic Mike. No, we're not going to talk about Magic Mike.
Thank God, yeah. Well, I'll talk about how good Salma Hayek looks at 50 if you want to, but like, I'm not talking about Magic Mike.
Yeah, no kidding. Actually, I guess in 2 weeks from now we have Ant-Man. So there's that. Coming up soon. If either one of us can. I'm
going to see that. I'm seeing that opening night by myself because who cares, you know?
Yeah. Not LOL. YOLO.
YOLO.
YOLO and LOL are two different things.
Yeah, I'm not dragging anybody to that movie on opening night. That's crazy. I'm just gonna go by myself. It's hassle free.
I am just so sick to death of the anti-Marvel sentiment that has been growing quite rapidly on social media, where people are kind of having this consensus about Marvel fatigue. Like, they're like, I'm just kind of over it. The stakes aren't the same, blah, blah, blah. But yet they all still show up for the next...
I was going to say, I'll see y'all in a couple weeks. Like, y'all will all be there, you know?
You always say this after every single movie. Like, Black Panther Wakanda Forever had its time in the sun. You know, people liked it for a couple weeks. And then suddenly they go to, man, what happened to Marvel? Like, they immediately go into that until the next movie.
I mean, there's like a person's about to win a statue for a performance in that movie. Well, they got nominated, you know, like, so it's like,
right. No, you're right. She's gonna win.
So it's you know, like, it's funny how quick we forgot about. You know, it wasn't that good. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not a huge Black Panther movies fan, but like, it's stupid to be like so dismissive about.
I agree.
On the level that people are being.
It's not just like apparently I think she is still actually the front runner to win the award. Yes, she is. She's the heavily odds-on favorite to win the Best Supporting Actress. And then you have to consider the other category. Like, it's going to win costume design for sure. Look at those costumes, man.
Yeah.
And then I think production design it's going to win too, because their sets that they made are just unreal for Wakanda. So I think it's going to win a few Oscars, actually.
This same kind of attitude happened like with the Star Wars sequels too. Everyone hated Last Jedi, but you better believe
production design is not nominated for. Whoops. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But you better believe Rise of the Skywalker was like made billions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, it's like, I'm never gonna watch a Star Wars movie again. I'll see you in a year, douche.
No kidding. And it's actually funny when people talk this big game, and the proof is in the box office, because the top 3 from last year's box office are, I think Top Gun is still number 1, thank God. And then Avatar, and I'm talking domestically, and then Avatar 2 is number 2, and then number 3 is Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Yeah. Because people showed up for that movie. Yeah, exactly. If you're so sick of it, stop seeing the movies.
Yeah. I don't buy it, you know.
Yeah.
Because if you really I guess you can be sick of something but still indulge, but that seems kind of crazy to me. I don't know.
I
Like
agree. I agree. You and I
when
are
I'm
the
sick of
same.
something, I just stop. There's been plenty of things I'm just like, I'm done. Like Walking Dead. I'm sick of this. I didn't just watch that show for another 10 years. Like I walked away. like a sane
Yeah, I
person.
mean, you and I have the same outlook on that, where it's like life's too short, just don't watch. Like, I mean, if you're really going to go out of your way to complain this much on social media about the state of a thing, I think you should stop participating. Like, I mean, that's just friendly
that thing keeps
advice for your
happening because
own
people
health.
like you keep participating. So.
Right, exactly. I mean, seriously.
Nothing like a good hate watch, you know what I mean?
But regardless of all that, I am genuinely excited to see Jonathan Majors on in another movie, because you saw Devotion. You know any role you put him in, he's amazing.
My favorite role by him is the cowboy movie from last year.
Oh yeah, Harder They Fall. Yeah,
he's so good in that movie.
Oh
gosh.
And then he's in Creed 3, and like
big year for him. Yeah.
Woo, man. He just looks like next level good, like committed to that role. Like I can't wait for that movie, dude. And I'm gonna be, for some reason, the Creed movies are. This might be a good list to make. The movies that you get unexpectedly emotional at, because the Creed movies, I get so emotional.
Unexpectedly emotional.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I crying at these movies?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I've seen boxing movies before, but those movies just make me weak. I don't know why. So I can't. Creed 3, dude. It's good stuff.
I never saw the second one, so I'll have to go back and watch that.
It's really good. It's just there's more cliches in it than you would expect.
It's all right. Yeah. I don't show up to a cliched genre to be like, I want something trailblazing, you know? Like,
instead of boxing, why don't they golf? You know?
Why isn't it about MMA? Because that's not the sport the movie's about, you know? Like, okay, yeah.
Instead of Star Wars Fallen Order, why don't we just get a Dragon Age game? Okay,
yeah.
I had to go there.
That's called a crossover joke.
Anyway, thanks for those of you that listen, and we'll be back next week. Yeah.